Hello drone racers! Today we are going to take a look at the DJI Racing Edition goggles. I will admit, when I first saw these, I kind of made fun of them, but then I saw all the information available, including the kit that comes with this, the OcuSync Air system. So we've got the upgraded DJI goggles, but then this is the real magic, I think, because this is a system that can go on an non-DJI device. It'll work with your flight controller, it'll work with your radio, and allow you to set up really long-range FPV with all kinds of things. We're going to take a look at this in another video. We'll go through an unboxing and set this up and testing and long-term things that we're going to do, but today first we need to take a look at the goggles. So what's really special about these goggles is they're not just DJI goggles. They also have a 5.8 gigahertz receiver. So we're going to take this all out of the box, see what it comes with, and then we'll do some testing and see how it looks, see how the DVR looks compared to other goggles that we're using. So on the bottom there is a piece of tape that you need to cut. Then you need to not grab hold of the handle, and the outside of the box will come off. So here it'll slide off this way. Then on the handle side, it'll open up this way, and it just gives you a really nice clean look on the inside. Wow. So they are pretty big. These are what we would consider as racers a box style goggles. These are not ski goggles. And they do, I'm afraid to move anything right now. So they have a knob on the bottom to adjust the diopters, the width between them. I don't know if those are replaceable diopters or not, or how much they change. We have a power button. We have a connector here, so you'll notice there's no strap on here. There is an antenna connection. It's an RPSMA connector, but it's the female side in the goggles, so most of your antennas that you've got are not going to connect there. It's very backwards compared to what we're used to. Looks like that's the release button. We have an HDMI connector here. It's really hard to open. There we go, that was really hard to open. So there's an SD card slot here, a headphone jack, and then the HDMI connector. So we'll need to keep that open so we can put a SD card in here in just a minute. That's really all there is to this set here, but that's only half the box. So this is late, comes out, and then here is the headset or headband portion of it. So these are going to connect together like that, no? Okay, so this will pull down. There we go. I'm not going to put this together yet because I want to read the instructions, but that's going to go right there, and then this connects here. There is a USB port. There we go. USB port on the bottom for charging. So this is your battery connector. And then there's a knob back here that does the head size adjustment, so you can get it set to your own head and get it all fitting. It's really nice, soft, squishy foam. So this is very, very different than what I'm used to, but I think it'll be really nice. Oh, so the reason this does this is you can flip the goggles up and down very easily without having to take them off, which will be really nice when you're flying. It does come with a USB adapter, and I'll notice this is probably, yeah, output is 5 volts and 3 amps. So this thing will crank out some power, which is really nice. And it seems to be variable. It'll do 9 volts or 12 volts. Is it selectable or is it just automatic? I've seen this, my Spark came with one of these, but that's interesting. We have a box in the middle here. What's in here? So this will come with the extra cables and antennas and connectors, and so it comes with a connector in case you want to use their antennas with something else, and that'll give you a standard connection for something else, but I want to connect my own antennas to this potentially, so I may need a separate adapter for that later. So we have 2 antennas here. These look the same to me. We have a cleaner screen, a USB connector, an HDMI adapter for HDMI connections, and a clip, and then some pretty beefy manuals. So I'm guessing that's a Pagoda antenna. That looks to me like there's probably a Pagoda antenna inside of there. Yep, there we go. SMA Pagoda, and then the reversed SMA connector. So if you need to connect, it's very backwards. Yeah, you need a male to male, not a female to female for connecting your own antennas. Which I don't know if it's beneficial or not. I guess we'll just have to find out. So this manual just shows you what's in the box, which we already covered that. in English and Chinese. DJI Series Goggles. Disclaimer and safety guidelines, I don't really care about that. And then the quick start guide. It describes the buttons. So it looks like you can adjust the IPD distance, but not the diopters. So part of what's cool about this though is it's compatible with OcuSync transmissions, supporting both analog and digital dual band for up to 7 kilometers with latency as low as 50 milliseconds. The goggles ER come with 3 compatible antennas for different scenarios, but I only got one, or I got 2 of the same one. It also gives the instructions for the OcuSync, which we'll cover that in a later video. Shows how to make all the adjustments and flip things up and charge the batteries, which is important. Oh, it's a left-hand polarized antenna. Interesting. So that's something to keep in mind if you add a separate antenna. Shows how to connect the air module. I wonder if it's the air module that comes with 3 different antennas. That's kind of seems to be the description. The goggles you just use with the Pagoda, but the air module, when we get to that later, will have different antenna options. So here you can use this with the Mavic series, which is what I will be doing mostly. You can also use it with your Phantom 4 or Spark, but it requires an additional cable, which I thought I ordered, but I don't seem to have. And the specifications. So what I'm going to do, so here's one thing that was important to me. So this will work with an F3, F4 KISS or NASA controller, flight controller, and then it'll work with an X9D. So that's how the connections are going to work on an external racing drone, and it's all handled through the goggles. So then we get to other languages. So this is very simple and straightforward. What I'm going to do is just try the goggles, and then we'll take a look and see how they actually work. So putting the unit together is pretty straightforward. This part that I folded down does just slide into here until it snaps. Hear that? So that will connect, and then you can flip the goggles up and down, which is kind of nice to be able to just flip them out of the way as needed. And then the antenna will just screw in here. And there's no tool, there's no wrench or anything, so I'm assuming this is just going to be finger tight. Okay, this is very, very important. Before you plug in anything and do anything else, you need to download the software. I'm assuming you don't have a Mavic. If you have a Mavic, you can use that and connect to that with the goggles, and the goggles will update and register and do everything through the Mavic. If you don't have a Mavic, like I have one, but I haven't turned it on yet, you need to download and install the software to activate them before you can use them. And you really need to do this before you plug it in. I plugged mine in and then have screwed up the drivers and I'm having a terrible time getting it fixed. I ended up using another computer. So here's what you need to do. Go to DJI.com and go to Consumer and Goggles RE. So then from here, you need to go down to the Downloads section and download this DJI Assistant V2 118. So it has to be at least 118. I accidentally loaded 116 first, which might have been part of my problem. You need 118 or newer. This is as of December 2017. Download this. If you're like me, Windows will complain saying this is not an approved software or whatnot. You have to do it. You've got to load it through and then have the software running. So once you have it running, you need to go to login. If you don't already have a DJI account, you need to go through and sign up and set up a DJI account. That is required for these in order to register to your account and to work. So after you do that, then you can turn on your goggles. It will ask you about your language. It will ask you about your settings. Sorry, I can't show you this now. It's too late. And then it will say to run the software. At that point, plug in the USB port on the goggles into your computer. It will recognize them. Then you can download the firmware. It takes about 5 minutes. I recommend getting on the latest version, I guess. I don't know any different. And then it will allow you to log in. And what we'll look at next is what happens once you get the software installed and registered. But this is really important. Do this first to get it all activated. Now, in order to turn on the goggles, which you had to do to activate it, you press and hold down the button. Hold it down here. It'll light up. It'll beep at you. And then the display will start. Couple important things about the goggles. This side is actually like a laptop touchpad, so it will swipe through the screen as you go. So you can swipe and you can click, and that will set it up. A couple extra things, you can do a double touch, so you double touch back and it will lock the screen. You go back forward, it will unlock. Go down for a quick menu and then up So we'll look through those screens here, but I want to show you how you do that, and then you just tap to accept. There's also a back button on the bottom. It's the recessed one, and then the bumped one is the function that we will use in just a few minutes. So here you'll notice the screen is black, and that's because I'm not wearing them. There's a sensor right here that if you go over it, it will detect whether you've got the goggles on or not. That's actually a configurable setting, so you can decide if you want to do that or not, but it'll help conserve your batteries when you flip them up in order to be able to see. So here's the basic menu, and today we're going to focus on the analog connectivity because that's what's most special about these. The analog connectivity is what separates them from the old versions. So in order to get to that, you swipe down with 2 fingers, and then you have your screen here. And see, they're turned off on me. So here we go down, and we go over to Racing Drone Analog, and I will touch. So here now we have frequency scanning. I'm going to turn on a drone. So here now I'm in frequency scan. I'm going to do an auto scan. We will let it do a search and see how it does. So there we go. Now we have video. Then I'll click and go back. So one of the other things that's interesting about this option is the zoom scale settings, because people complain sometimes goggles are too immersive, especially with box goggles. Sometimes they're not immersive enough. Here I can actually change how immersive it is. Look, it's actually making, and it's zooming in, and it's filling more of the screen. So there it's totally filling the screen, but when you wear goggles, you may not want to have to move your eyes around. So you may think that's too much. So I can zoom back out, and the default gives you a much smaller screen. So it's really up to you which one you want to do. So you may pick somewhere in the middle, and that looks like about right. We'll try that. The other thing is the function button on the bottom will start recording. So as we look at the goggles itself in my rig here, there we're recording the screen. So now we have the screen recording going. You can fly with DVR, and then you can just click and turn it off. So what I'm going to use for this test is actually my new King Kong ET100 that I've set up, partially because it has a linear antenna. And you may have heard me mention earlier several times, this comes with a left-hand polarized antenna. So that's going to be a problem for some people. Most antennas are all right-hand polarized, and it really doesn't matter as long as they're the same. Well, if it's linear, it's about the same as if you're wearing most goggles for this, because the quadcopter is linear. This will be left hand. It's the same thing as if it was right hand, so it'll be fine. I've actually got some adapters coming so I can connect this and connect my own antennas to it, so I can put on a right hand antenna and fly with other things. But for now, we're going to fly this inside and see how it goes. Okay, I'm recording with both the DJIs and my Amway Commanders, just so we can get a good comparison and see them side by side. The Amways have the advantage or disadvantage of not being on my head. So this is with a Runcam Nano on the on the ET100 that I love just because I can do this. Now it has got, this is a fully charged, ready to go battery. And it's almost too fast, but it's not. And this is my favorite indoor drone at the moment. Oh, because of this. There we go. There we go. Took a few tries, but with turtle mode I was able to get that fixed. And so now we're just going to kind of tool around. I'll go a little slower so we can get a better view. I'll say these goggles are really comfortable. I'm really happy with the comfort level. I'm really like to be able to just flip up the top part and be able to see. So I can wear these with glasses, which as a glasses wearer is kind of a big deal. It's kind of a really big deal to be able to wear with glasses, especially as I'm thinking about flying in the winter. I'm going to have times where I want to fly and there's snow on the ground. And I might have to bring it in and catch it, or I might have to bring it in and land in the garage. And to be able to do that, I need to be able to see. And to be able to see, I need to have my glasses on. Here we go again. And when I do that, there we go. When I do that, it's nice to be able to just flip up the goggles and be able to go. I don't want to have to slide them up and keep my glasses on my nose and have any issues with being able to do that. So in the winter, I could see using these a lot. I could see these might become my primary outside goggles as long as I can get a right-hand polarized antenna on it, which shouldn't be a problem. Now there is no diversity, so that could be an issue, but really where I fly, I flew without diversity for long enough that it didn't really matter. It was fine. Visually, they're really comfortable. They're really comfortable on my head, my eyes. I might actually change and shrink the video just a little bit. So that's where that option to change it around was nice. Now we're good to go again. But part of what was nice is I didn't have to take off the goggles in order to go do that. I was able to just flip them up. There's the ball I was on. And just go do it. And then just flip them back down. So I really, really like that. I'm curious with the right antenna how much of a difference it will make. Will it be night and day better? Oops. Hey, look. I went underneath. There we go. Oh, too much. Too much. And my battery's running low. I love this thing inside. So my battery's beeping at me, so I'm going to call that a flight, and then we need to go look at footage. Yes, yes. One more thing I wanted to confirm before I went and started looking at the video is that you could look back at them in the goggles, because if you can't, that would really be a problem. And you can. You just go up to this middle setting here and click, and then go over to playback. And then we have local storage, and there are my 4 videos that I have taken, and you can just play and watch them right here. To me, this is really important because I record all my flights, especially when I'm flying somewhere I'm unfamiliar with, and I want to be able to see if I crashed, where I crashed, and what was going on. So you can play it right back here in the goggles. So it's good to know. Looking at the video while editing, I can't tell a humongous difference between the DJIs and the Amways, which I think is probably a good thing. It's a pro. These do record in 16:9 versus the 4:3 in the Amway, so that's probably the biggest difference. The videos ended up a little out of sync, and I'm not sure if it was because the recording on these did something weird, or part of what I noticed is the start point is just different. It starts recording a little earlier than I expected, so I'm gonna have to check on that some more with additional recordings as I move on to make sure they're easy to edit with. But overall, they really were very convenient to work with. It worked out really, really well. I think I like the flip up goggles with my glasses. It's going to be really convenient into winter because I'll be able to flip them up and land line of sight much better, since the snow can be a problem. So I think the biggest pro for these is the versatility. Here we just looked at the analog connectivity. I'm going to get my Mavic out of the box and get that tested, and we'll do a review of that. But just being able to use these with analog is great. I'll give you a little preview. I've got the air module on a quadcopter, and this is just a model I'm using for testing, and you can tell it's been flown. So that will come out soon on how to get this connected to a flight controller, because it's not quite the way I thought it was going to be, but it all works in the end. That took a lot longer to get working than I thought it would, but my pain can be your gain. So if you found this useful, leave a like and a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe so you see more of these videos. Click the bell icon so you know as soon as the update with the air module is posted, or with the Mavic, or we're gonna have some range tests, and there's gonna be a whole separate build for the air module with a long range build. So if you are just looking for a pair of analog goggles, someone asked me in a comment whether I would recommend these or the Amways. And if you're only planning on racing, these are not the goggles for you. But if you want the versatility of connecting to all the DJI products and having analog connectivity, these are probably the way to go. So until next time, remember, if you're gonna play a scene of you just playing with goggles through the viewpoint of a quadcopter, you definitely need to play some silly music along with it.